Arias Ali. I want to also join in what some may term a celebration, some may term a reflection. In so doing, I recognize also former President Donald Ramatar and all the stalwarts of the People's Progressive Party. Of course, Comrade Indra is here, maybe the longest serving woman leader in our country. Comrade Clement Rohi. I don't know, Clement, you awake? I see you bowing before the flowers there. That's a good sign. You hungry? That's the standard of these old stalwarts. But let me say that the journey of life, and Comrade Sash Sawh's journey of life, was decorated with his service, celebrated by his sacrifice, paused by human cruelty. Paused by human cruelty, but rebooted in tradition, family, institution, belief, and loyalty. And it is on that premise I want to share a few remarks. I recognize also we have the Chief of Defense Staff, Brigadier Omar Khan, and the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Budram, with us. And it's important that they're here in this reflection. I say pause by human cruelty because we must never forget that in the 60 years of our history, this was the utmost representation of human cruelty. And it is important, as painful as it is, for us to address these issues because of the historical significance, especially as we celebrate 60 years of independence soon. But I say his life was rebooted in tradition because here is where much of his life found comfort, in this movement. This beautiful movement of Arias Samaj is where his life found meaning, is where his life was designed for purpose, is where his life was chartered in culture, tradition, and spirituality that formed the basis upon which he would make decisions and live his life. And if just before me, Mr. Vishnu spoke, who is now the Chief Elections Officer, legacy, someone who came up under him, who would have worked in an environment in which his tradition, his values, his principles were instilled. And that brings me to the next point. The point that after the cruelty of humanity, his life was rebooted. And all those who continue in loyalty to what he stood for, in loyalty for the institutions he represented, whether it's the Arias Samaj or the People's Progressive Party or the ACG, all those who stand in loyalty to those organizations, the principles of those organizations, the traditions and values of these organizations, you are ensuring that his life continues in this rebooted form. And that is why these organizations are important. And I want to say, all of us will leave, but institutions are meant to stay. And that is why it's important that we invest our energies in institutions, making institutions stronger. And today, we have a responsibility to make the Arias Samaj movement stronger in his honor. The People's Progressive Party stronger in his honor. The ACG stronger in his honor. And that is what rebooting is. But there's an important aspect that sometimes people who live extraordinary lives, and there is no doubt that Comrade Satyadeow Sash Sawh lived an extraordinary life. But sometimes there is very little appreciation for what allowed that extraordinary life. And today, because of the love he gave that system that allowed this extraordinary life, we see him alive again. We see him through this family. And that institution I'm speaking about now is the family. And the way this family carried forward, Auntie Sati, Roger, and David, I'll come to those two names just now. The way they carried forward, the strength of character, the principles, the values, and the continuation of the legacy of serving the institutions that shaped his life speaks about an extraordinary family shaped by common values, common beliefs, and common principles. And today, we ought to applaud this family because this is the foundation. You see, in life, many things may break away, and we live in a different world today. We live in a world, you see in the photographs, Comrade Sash Sawh, I was telling Auntie Sati and I was telling David about the first time I met the two of them at Nikki's farm in Parika. They were very small, but they were with their father. Whether they were in religious gathering, political gathering, social gathering, the unit was being created. He was crafting the continuation of an institution, and that institution is the family. And I want to applaud Auntie Sati for carrying forward this institution in such a remarkable and beautiful way. And I say we cannot truly celebrate Comrade Sash Sawh without recognizing the strength, character of this family and this wife and this mother, Auntie Sati, and your wonderful children. And I say to you, thank you for what you have done and continue to do for your father. Now, there are some conceptions and misconceptions that we have to address. Comrade Satyadeow Sash was a practical man. And I was trying to decipher how such a rich cultural and traditional man came up with the name Roger and David for his children. And then the practicality of the man was explained to me. That when he went to Canada, his employers found it difficult to pronounce his name. And he did not want his children to go through that difficulty. So he decided to adopt names that were practical for the environment in which they were brought up, with the cultural name also. So this brings me to the second aspect of practicality. Who is a Jaganite? Because this is something that every generation must carry forward. But if we believe that a Jaganite is someone who is stuck in a historic philosophy, or someone who is stuck somewhere in history, or a philosophy or an ideology that is stuck in some history, then we are not doing a service to what a Jaganite is. We are doing a serious disservice to what represents a Jaganite. Because a Jaganite is not stuck in historic precedents. If I may borrow some aspect of the law, Budran. A Jaganite is an evolving concept of practical objectivity, mindful of the prevailing environment and circumstances. That is why when Comrade Chelly came to office, he had to make some practical decisions based on the state of the country, the state of the economy, and the state of the world. But the overriding factor was always the interests of the nation and the interests of the people. So that's the second thing I want to speak of. The third issue that I want to allow my friend Jay to know that I was listening to you very carefully. Corporal 1417, enlisted on the 8th of August 1977, left on the 1st of July 1982, serving 4 years, 10 months, 24 days in the Guyana Defense Force. You were part of the Perai Battalion and you left with honor because you were decorated with the Border Service Medal. Corporal J. Jairam, 7417, I ask you to stand and ask all of us to applaud this serviceman. And you may wonder about the speed and efficiency. I assure you that under the watch of Brigadier Omar Khan, we are very efficient and very ready to protect every square inch of this beautiful country. Now, I want to say that Comrade Sash Sawh lived a life of conviction. And that's the first thing we have to understand. He was convinced that his life was for a purpose. He was convinced that he was representing something larger than life. He was convinced that he was representing a cause. And his life was structured based on that conviction. That conviction was based on belief, dignity, value, and purpose. And it was built on a foundation of effort. Now you can live a life of conviction, you can live a life of belief, you can live a life of value or purpose, but you would not achieve anything because you did not put in the effort. You can be convinced, Uncle Matai, that you will be the best businessman, most successful man. But if you put the effort in, everybody see your success. But they don't know you wake up at 2:30 in the morning and you go to bed at 11:30 in the night. Effort. Comrade Sash Sawh placed the effort alongside his conviction. He placed commitment alongside his belief. He was selfless in his conviction. He made sacrifices, numerous sacrifices. But importantly, in a life of loyalty is something called steadfastness. When the winds become more beautiful on the other side, and when the journey seems easier on the other side, when circumstances can easily shift you along the other side, what is required at that point is steadfastness. Steadfastness in your conviction, in your belief, in your sense of purpose, and in your direction. And in every circumstance, we saw people who went up onto the mountain and proclaimed themselves as the best of Jaganite. At the first opportunity, they shifted. Think about Moses now. Can transition to how steadfast do we stick to the struggling moments. And that is why the People's Progressive Party is an amazing institution. And we cannot speak about Comrade Satyadeow Sash without speaking about the People's Progressive Party, and I do so without apology, because the two goes hand in hand. And this is not about politics. This is about reality, the objective reality of the life and legacy of the man we celebrate. So on this 20th death anniversary of the assassination of Satyadeow Sash Sawh, I join in paying tribute to one of the most assiduous ministers and industrious political activists our nation has ever produced, and I ask us to applaud him. Born in central Maikoni as Satyadeow Sash Sawh, and fondly known more to us as Sash Sawh, Sash's family experienced the raw sting of political violence in the 1960s. In many respects, he was born into political struggle. When Sash Sawh migrated to Canada, Guyana never left his heart. As a member and later president of the Association of Concerned Guyanese, he devoted his every spare hour to fighting for free and fair elections and for democracy in Guyana. He was the foundational fighter for the return of democracy in Guyana, the freedom we enjoy today, the luxury of the freedom we enjoy today, the freedom of association, the freedom of education, the equity of opportunity is the legacy, work, time, and honor of Satyadeow Sash. And we live today in a country where many take these freedoms for granted. The battle for us was against colonial rule, into independence. The battle against global circumstances that subjected the party by a narrative and kept us out of government through a period of dictatorship. The battle today has changed. The battle of AI, digitization, social media, and money-led politics are different battles. But at the end of the day, understand that this is not political. The battle for the mind, the battle for the mind of every individual to make a choice that would define their future and their life ahead of them is not a political battle. It is a battle of identity. A sense of belonging. And we confuse sometimes what constitutes a political battle as against a battle of identity and a battle of the mind. And Comrade Sash Sawh understood that the political realities were designed to shape the political identity of individuals through their thinking process. And that is why he spent so much time on education, so much time on uplifting those around him, so much time on transposing knowledge among those who were around him. When freedom finally came to Guyana in 1992, Sash Sawh answered the call. First as ambassador to Venezuela, serving with such distinction that he received the nation's second highest award, the Order of Francisco de Miranda, first class, and during which tenure he actively worked to foster good relations between Guyana and its western neighbor. Then again in 1996, he was recalled back home to serve as minister in the Ministry of Agriculture. As Minister of Fisheries, Crops and Livestock, and later Acting Minister of Agriculture, he carried a staggering workload with responsibilities for several weighty agencies and initiatives. He made a positive impact in all of those areas. He had a special interest in aquaculture and helped lay the foundation for that sector's success that we now enjoy today. Today, in Region 6 alone, the swamp shrimp industry is $1.7 billion in value. The prawns industry at Anabawa, every pond producing 10 tons. But those who knew him remember more than his heavy work remit. They remember the jovial laugh. They remember the wonderful spirit. The man who made every farmer and fisherfolk feel seen and important. Behind that warmth was a staunch political activist, utterly devoted to Guyana's development. His popularity was never performative. It was the gravitas of a man who truly loved his country and his people. He was taken from us at a relatively young age. And in that loss, Guyana hemorrhaged one of its most hardworking and devoted sons. And still, 2 decades later, the fields of Guyana whisper his name. The farmers remember him with great affection. The fisherfolk carried a memory of his concern. His door was always open. His voice always asking what the farmers and fisherfolk wanted. Sash Sawh was a man of the people. He walked among the tillers of the soil and the haulers of nets, not merely as a minister, but as a true friend. And although he has departed from us, his dream endures as a living bond. For the government he served, the nation he loved, still pursues that same horizon. A just Guyana, a prosperous Guyana, a democratic Guyana. And we, his former comrades, in the struggle for a better Guyana, will not rest until the soil he blessed and the waters he protected bloom with the fullness of that promise. So Satyadeow Sawh, beloved wife, Auntie Sati, his children, Roger and David, and all who held him dear and near. 20 years have passed, but the wound is not fully closed. And I know that no anniversary eases the ache of an empty chair. Yet, as President of Guyana, I want you all to know that you're not alone. Not then, not now, not ever. The same nation you serve, with every breath, holds you in its abiding embrace. We stand with you in quiet solidarity, in support, in gratitude that you shared him with us. And you, his beloved ones, remain family to us all. Wherever you walk, whatever the weight of these 2 decades, may you feel the gentle pressure of a people's love at your back. You are ours, as he was ours, and we will never forget him. We thank you graciously. I thank you. I want to just, Governor Donald, recite this poem that I had the honor to write almost 20 years ago. Satyadeow Sash, you lived your life almost without a flaw. Death came by criminal laws. Now I have to pause. Oh Guyana, what a great loss. Sash in Parliament, I can still feel your radiance. With powerful articulation, you won so much admiration. Part of a special generation, definitely part of God's special creation. Your death by assassination was never in my imagination. For so many, revenge is a great temptation. But for those I know, you would have, for that I know, you would have great objection. Remembering your gentle care, I still feel you near. For the PPP, you were so dear. With such a great flair, you won hearts everywhere. The ordinary, you treated with such great care. The difficulties you bore for the agricultural sector, putting people at the center. Never were you a dictator. Justice, peace, and integrity for you were hereditary. Respect and humility was part of your personality. Service and patriotism, your conviction. Freedom and democracy was your philosophy. For this, O Sash, you have left your legacy. With great determination, you fulfilled your ambition, seeing Guyana a free nation. For generations to come, history would record your contribution. Like a true juggernaut, the ordinary man's cause was your plight. Oh, comrade, your assassination came with great condemnation, and with strong distraction, your life will be a great celebration, for you have contributed positively to this great nation, Guyana. Live on, Comrade Sash Sawh. Live on. We love you.
His Excellency President Irfan Ali, happy birthday. On behalf of all the Arias Samaj in Guyana, on behalf of all of Guyana, former President Donald Ramatar, Bahan Satyadeow Sawh and family, all the dignitaries, Siraj, Kamrohi, Kamendra, executives of the Guyana Central Arias Samaj, executives of the Berbi Central Arias Samaj, ladies and gentlemen, Bahais and Bahans. It is indeed an honor for me to be here on behalf of the Guyana Central Arias Samaj and the Berbi Central Arias Samaj to say how happy we are that we have this activity to celebrate the life and works of Pitaji Satyadeow Sash Sawh. He was an integral part of the Arias Samaj movement of Guyana. At one time, I think, just preceding his passing, he actually held the position of the Vice President of the Guyana Central Arias Samaj. Let me pause here to say congratulations to Veer. I call him Veer. You know him as Pandit Joe, on the excellent job that he has done. And to go back in time and remember that when, those days when we used to go to the beach early in the morning, and the Yajnas and the Hawans, and to say you have come a far way, and I'm proud. I'm sure Papa will be proud also. I'd also like to say that when Comrade Sawh visited Moscow and I was a student there, studying medicine, he reached out to me and he told me, he said, Vishwa, I know your cousin Joe, you know, so come let's talk. And that was the introduction of Sash Sawh to me, telling me about my cousin, about my family, how far back, how well he knew my father, and things like that. I would say Bhai Sawh or Comrade Sawh, Comrade Satyadeow Sawh, was an Arias Samajist to the core. We have 10 principles of the Arias Samaj. Principle number 1, that talk about God and his characteristics. Principle 2, that talks about attributes. Principle 3, that talks about the Vedas. I'll go on from principle 4, truth. We should be ever ready to embrace truth and to forsake untruth. Number 5, all acts should be done in accordance with dharma, after deliberating what is right and wrong. Number 6, the prime object of the Arias Samaj is to do good. That is to promote the physical, spiritual, and social welfare of every living being. 7, love and justice. Our conduct towards all should be guided by love, righteousness, and justice. Learning, we should dispel ignorance and promote learning, both spiritual and physical. No person, this is the 9th one, no person should be content with promoting his welfare only. On the contrary, he should seek his good, he should see his good in promoting the welfare of all. And all persons should subordinate themselves to the laws of society calculated to promote the well-being of all. They should be free in regard to the laws promoting individual liberty. Comrade Sawh, Bhaiji Satyadeow Sawh, lived his life by the 10 principles of the Arias Samaj, especially the 9th one, where he saw his personal well-being in the well-being of all. He lived our motto, Krinwanto Vishwamaria, make the universe noble. He sacrificed a good life to come to serve Guyana, where he had to start literally from the bottom up. He served well, not only in the Arias Samaj, not only in the community, but also as a minister of government. I would not have heard anyone say that he was unapproachable, that he was angry, that he shouted at them, that he did not lend a listening ear. And I think that has been the principle of the People's Progressive Party, and he also lived that principle. We'll be having speakers from the People's Progressive Party representing the party, and I'm sure we'll hear from them. What I'd like to say is that indeed we have to celebrate Sash Sawh's life. His 50 years that he lived, a lot of people live much longer and did not achieve what he lived. So his 50 years was a full life, full of achievements, full of sacrifice, full of victories. To each one of us, to me, he was a leader. To me, he was an advisor because he shared his advice in Moscow when I was still a student. To me, he was a comrade. To me, he was a politician. To me, he was a friend. To me, he was a Baha'i in the Arias Samaj. And we could continue, each one of us could relate to Baha'i Satyadeow Sawh in one way or the other. When I heard, I told Roger, when I heard his voice this morning without looking up, I thought I was hearing Sash Sawh. Because Siraj was sitting right next to me. I said, Siraj, doesn't he sound just like Comrade Sash? As long as we remember Sash Sawh, as long as he holds a part of our heart in our memory, he is never going to die. His sacrifice will not be in vain. And so I want to thank Bahanji Satyadeow Sawh and family for giving him to us, for sharing him with us. And I want to say congratulations and thank you.
comrades and friends all. I think Sash is here today because listening to Roger is almost like listening, the voice is almost exactly the same. So he left his voice with his voice. It is, when I got the invitation to be here, I reflected how quickly 20 years have passed and how much has changed. And yet, that day is imprinted in my mind, and I can see it as if it was yesterday. Because I was one of the first persons, together with Hari Narayan Naubat, who arrived at the house after the tragic killing of Sash, his siblings, his security, his dog, was all killed at the same time. And it was a definite, difficult period in the life of this country. It was, in the political definitions today of terrorism, it was naked terrorism that occurred on that terrible morning, early morning. But, as I said, Sash was one of the people who was strong and prepared for moments like those. Because he lived a life like many of us of his generation. We were captured by the vision that Chelly Jagan espoused for the country that he wanted. And we joined that movement from a very, very early stage. Before independence, some of us were there. During the struggle for democracy, right on to the victory in 1992. And Pandit mentioned upstairs just now that once they had a dinner in Canada and they had hardly many persons. It was the same thing here. It was the same thing here. Many people didn't want to associate with some of us because they would lose their jobs and they could be persecuted. Sometimes family would even insult you and say, where you gonna get falling Jagan by? You gonna get work, you get a job at Gimpex Force for a little bit, almost nothing, and then at Freedom House we work. And Sash was from that generation. Sash came from the Maikoni, and the 1960s, the Maikoni was one of the hottest spots in this country, where terrorism occupied people's lives in the nights, and comrades had to defend themselves. Many comrades lost their homes, many had to remove from where they were living. Sash family, I think, went to the quarantine in that terrible period. So he knew from a very young age his ideas and his vision they were formed in that very early period of struggle, even before Guyana got independence, and independence that we will celebrate 60 years in a short while. But Sash came to Georgetown. He was living somewhere in Kingston. And that is where he got into close contact with the party, visiting Freedom House. Comrade Rohi was working there at the time, knew him at that tender age, but he was a militant PYO member before becoming a militant party member. And when he migrated abroad, he left, his feet took him to Canada, but his heart was left here. And he carried on an important struggle in Canada. When the PPP didn't have diplomats, we didn't have people working abroad, so the groups that the comrades formed had to work to organize and inform people, to lobby governments, and to make representation for our behalf. And more than that, Sash entertained many of us when we were passing through Canada, either in transit or going there to do some work. The first time he entertained me in Canada was the very first time that I went to Canada. And that was sometime in the middle 80s when I went to Canada to a conference of the Communist Party of Canada. And Sash took time off from his busy schedule to be with me every day, to take me to the conference and back. And we had a very good time. But Sash was more than just a politician. He was more than just that. He was fun to be with from time to time. When he came back home after serving as an ambassador in Venezuela and came as Minister of Agriculture in Guyana, we had put him in charge, something that he loved to do, and he did it with enthusiasm. We put him in charge of organizing March month, the month of Chedijagan, and activities to commemorate the life and work of his hero. And that is actually, in one of those functions, was the last time he and I shared the platform together. We were in Maikoni, and one of the comrades is here from Maikoni that I saw earlier, and he was with us. And before the program started, they had a cultural program, and they had a young lady who was dancing on the stage, and she was gyrating faster than a clock, and the second hand of a clock can turn. And Sash looked at her and said, turned to the cupboard, he said, "Who's this girl? Who is she?" And he said, "You don't know, man, I can't remember, this cousin so-and-so's daughter." Sash seemed puzzled, like he couldn't remember who it was. He asked again, then they said, "Do you remember the lady, man? She was living there to the man there." He still couldn't remember, but then I saw him smile, his big smile that he always had. He said, "Boy, she might be near the man there, but she's very far from God." So he was really fun. He was a great host, a great entertainer, and really fun to be with. And that is why I'm so pleased today that this activity has been organized to remember him and to remember the contribution that he's made. And finally, let me just say that we are observing the anniversary of his passing at another very challenging time in our country. Much of what he struggled for has been achieved, and many of the things that are being done now, he would have been high in praise and approval. But we must always remember to guard our sovereignty like the apple of our eyes. Many comrades died for that, fighting for democracy. You remember Michael Ford, Edward Griffith, the Jagan Ramasar and Bolanath Parmalan, many other comrades. And we must always remember that there's nothing more important than freedom and sovereignty. And we will always remember Sash for his contribution to that, and his contribution in beginning the building of Guyana, to resuscitate Guyana, that to where we are. And it is like comrades of such character that today we are standing on shoulders of such great comrades. So thank you very much for your attention. and let us always remember, I think the family of Sash Sawh can very well feel contented, very well feel, despite the sadness and the tragic circumstances, they can feel contented by the quality of life that he lived, that he served his fellow countrymen, and his contribution even went beyond the shores of Guyana. May he rest in peace, and may he be forever remembered with fondness. Thank you for your attention.
मुझे तेरी मोहब्बत का सहारा मिल गया होता, मुझे तेरी मोहब्बत का सहारा मिल गया होता। अगर तूफान नहीं आता, अगर तूफान नहीं आता, सहारा मिल गया होता।
मुझे तेरी मोहब्बत का सहारा मिल गया होता। अगर तूफान नहीं आता, किनारा मिल गया होता। मुझे तेरी मोहब्बत का सहारा मिल गया
न था मंजूर किस्मत को, न थी मर्जी बहारों की, नहीं तो इस गुलिस्तां में, नहीं तो इस गुलिस्तां में कमी थी नजारों की। मेरी नजरों को ये कोई नजारा मिल गया होता। अगर तूफान नहीं आता, किनारा मिल गया होता।
मुझे तेरी मोहब्बत का सहारा मिल गया
खुशी से अपनी आँखों को मेरे से भिगोएगा, मेरे बदले तू हंस लेती, मेरे बदले तू हंस लेती। तेरा दर्द मुझे काश तेरा दर्द सहारा मिल गया होता अगर तूफान
नहीं किया था किनारा मिल गया होता मुझे तेरी मोहब्बत का सहारा मिल गया होता
मुझे तेरी मोहब्बत का सहारा मिल गया होता
सहारा मिल गया होता
सहारा मिल गया होता
that we're going to be delivering today. I want us to stand side by side, please. Maybe. Thank you. Tej is going to go first. So everyone, this is Tej Arias Sawh. He is a student of the kindergarten class of Levi Creek Public School. He is how many years old?
4
Years old. And the poem he's going to be reciting today is The Little Plant by Kate L. Brown. Please put your hands together for Paige Sawh. And we're going to be brave. We can say it together, okay? Stand up, face in front, please. Recite Paige. Okay, let's go. In the
How of a sea, very deep, so deep. A dim little flag lay fast to sleep. Wait, said the sunset, creep to the right. Wait, said the voice of the rain was white. The little plant rose when it rose the sea was the wonderful cloud side towards my feet.
wow. Let's say thank you and namaste.
Thank you and namaste.
There we go. Okay, let's switch. So this is the next participant. Please stop poking the microphone. This is, put your hand up the microphone, please. Hold on. This is Satyadeow Sash. He is a proud student of grade 1 of the Levi Creek Public School. And, hands to the side, he will be performing Where the Mind is Without Fear. You can go ahead, baby.
Where the mind is without fear, and the head is so high, who lie in this tree, who the world has not been frozen up in the fragments, I never molested the world, who rose map of the deck of truth. The time will start being stretches its arm towards perfection, when quail stream leaves with not into the very desert sands of death and faith. The line will start.
Just let forward.
By the line will start and action into that heaven freedom my father left my country away. Thank you.
Thank you. Put your hand there. Turn around. Can we give Veda a big round of applause, please?
Informative service this morning, and for shedding so much light in the early days of the ACG. You make my work easy, a lot easier, because I think a lot has been covered earlier. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening at table. A special good evening to Honorable President Dr. Irfan Muhammad Ali, on behalf of the Association of Concerned Guyanese, on behalf of the One Guyana Forum Canada, I think I'm not getting my message to you, Mr. President. So I'm going to take a pause. On behalf of the Association of Concerned Guyanese Canada, on behalf of the One Guyana Forum Canada, Janam Din Mubarak, wish you all the best. Keep up the one amazing job you're doing. Now let me go to Farrell. So I think you don't blame me and the organization and the community in Toronto for having your husband at almost every event. You heard the former speakers have mentioned of the reminding of Sash and his voice and his presence. So what we do, we got the event and we want the full impact of Sash. We invited Roger and Dave, and in the midst of the event, we hand over the mic and everything to Roger. And before the event is over, you have the full presence of Sash. So I think it was only me, but it looked like it before the evening is out. We will have the true presence of Sash. I have message tribute from the Association of Concerned Guyanese, but before I do that, it will be unjust for me to say, not to say my personal interaction with his family, most Sash. So once again, from our posse, from Toronto, the Toronto family, all other guests, once again, good evening. I would like to take this opportunity in thanking my sister Satyadeow Sawh and family for having me and my wife here. And I would also like to commend the Sawh family for the courage, strength, compassion, and determination in coping with this great loss. We are very proud of Dave and Roger keeping the legacy of their father and the great son of this soil so much alive and rich. I was fortunate to meet Sash at the social gathering at the late Herman Ali apartment in 1983. I just went to Canada and I met him, and the first thing he asked me, if I can tell him about my life in Guyana. I told him, if you're looking for someone with a significant life, talk to someone else, because I came from the background of enterprise. And most of my days was looking after cattle, confronting the rebels of Bachelor's Adventure over rice field and cow catching, and the large sum of impounded fee. And it was my daily struggle to keep our family, our livelihood. And after the age of 18, I joined the Guyana Defense Force. And I spent the rest of my years defending the Guyana border from invasion from Venezuela, entering Maguruma, Camera, and you know it. As the night prolonged, I didn't realize that it was not only a conversation, it was an interview for me to be a member of the Association of Concerned Guyanese, which occurred that very same night. In 1985, I can recall, and Pandit, you would recall very much, Sash was not getting what he was looking for in Toronto with regards to situation in Guyana. So he decided to take the struggle to Ottawa, a 5.5-hour travel, all the way to Parliament Hill. It was all agreed, and the bus was chartered. By the morning, of the journey. As Panditji would have said earlier, a lot of people, the number that we are looking for wasn't there. So it's a little bit of a disappointment, and we were debating whether we should still embark on the trip. Then came a very inspiring speech from Sash. He said, you all remember when Gandhiji started his struggle, what number he had. And let us be reminded of his achievement. What did he achieve at the end? It was very motivating, inspiring, so we all embarked onto the journey, heading towards Parliament Hill in Ottawa. His voice was clear. His demands were met at Parliament Building in Ottawa. They did assure us that they will intervene. They will intervene with regard to the situation in Guyana, free and fair election, democracy, and they intervened. They promised they will intervene, and intervene they did. So standing here today, I can say very proudly, that particular trip and so many other trips has benefited Guyana and the Guyanese people abundantly. I remember went to Canada on refugee status as well. Sash was there. His act of kindness was there to see every member that are seeking refugee status being channeled to the right authority, the lawyers, looking for a job. I remember I was sleeping on the floor for a number of months. I had to go and help him move from one apartment to the other. Shortly after that, there was a sofa in his apartment that was actually the last piece of furniture to go to the apartment. And all evening I was eyeing the sofa because I think it would have done me good, sleeping on the sofa other than the ground. At the end of the movie, he said he really wanted to give someone that sofa, that would cherish it. It has a lot of memory for him. I opened my mouth and said, you don't have to look very far. I've been sleeping for the past few months with my mother on the floor. He said, you know what, it is the most fulfilling thing I can do. You can have it. I used the sofa for a number of years, and then I had a comrade from my village of Enterprise came. The late Sweet Child brother was going through the same process. I was fortunate also to give him that sofa. I'm now going to proceed with a tribute from the Association of Concerned Guyanese Canada. At the beginning, I had a talk with Comrade Danny, who did most of the work, and he told me it was so easy to start. It was easy and it was hard because starting was easy, but that you kept going. There are so many things to mention about this fallen hero. It's hard to know where to stop. Today, the Association of Concerned Guyanese join with you in prayer and remembrance of Satyadeow Sash, our leader, our comrade, and our brother. 20 years have passed, yet his voice, his conviction, and his legacy still echo powerfully within us. While we acknowledge his distinguished service to Guyana, as ambassador to Venezuela, as a minister and a member of cabinet, as a member of the People's Progressive Party, today we deliberately turn our focus to a defining and earlier chapter of his life. Sash joined the ACG in 1975. Within a year, he was elected to the executive committee, and in 1980, he became the editor of the Guyana Current newspaper. In 1983, at the time when Guyanese were fleeing repression and uncertainty in their homeland, Sash stepped forward to lead the ACG. And led he did, with courage, clarity, and conviction for 10 of the most difficult years of the ACG. At a time when information was controlled, when there was no internet, no communication, or when even a simple overseas call from Guyana was a privilege, Sash understood that the fight for democracy required more than passion. It required strategy, it required innovation, it required relentless effort. And so he built it. Sash transformed the ACG into the most potent international voice for democracy in Guyana. He elevated the Guyana Current from a modest newsletter into a full-fledged monthly newspaper, giving truth a platform. He introduced the Guyana News Hotline, placing real-time updates into the hands of a hungry and concerned diaspora. He built a disciplined and an effective leadership team, one that executed with purpose, determination, and excellence. He spearheaded lobbying efforts that reached beyond Canada, into the Caribbean, the Commonwealth, and the wider international community. And under his leadership, the ACG became more than a PPP support group in Canada. It became a recognized political force, a respected name, and a symbol of resistance in the fight for free and fair elections. But Sash was not defined only by what he built, but more so by what he gave. In his own words, he said, "My entire spare time was spent with the ACG. I don't have a personal friend. I don't have a sport. All the spare time I had was, one way or the other, spent on the association." This is sacrifice. This is commitment. This is love for country. And when democracy was finally restored in 1992, Sash stepped forward again. Where others declared victory, Sash saw new responsibilities. He recognized that the work of the ACG was not finished, that the divided diaspora need healing, that the damaged national image need rebuilding, and that the new government needed support. And so once again, he led with vision and innovation. He launched the Race Relations Committee, creating spaces for dialogue, understanding, and unity among our diaspora in Canada. He initiated joint national celebrations, bringing together organizations across every segment of our country, fostering pride, identity, and togetherness. From that vision emerged decades of collaboration, engagement, and national spirit among Guyanese living in Canada. And he mobilized leadership, not just in words, but in action. 6 members of the ACG, inspired by his dedication, sacrifice, and enthusiasm, follow in his footsteps to serve at senior levels in the party and the government. No other organization in the diaspora matched his level of sacrifice and contribution. Not in the struggle for democracy, not in the rebuilding effort that followed. That, my friend, is leadership. That is legacy. Today, as the ACG marks its 53rd year, recognized nationally for its contribution to the restoration of democracy, we say without hesitation, without qualification, and with an immense sense of pride, Sash Sawh leadership was pivotal to our success. He was available, he was jovial, he was humble. But beneath that calm exterior, Sash was a man of steel. Sash was a man of steel, disciplined, focused, and with an unshakable commitment to his party and country. He did not seek recognition, he did not seek comfort, he sought only to serve. And serve, he did. So today, on this 20th anniversary of his passing, we do more than to remember him. We honor him, we honor his sacrifice, we honor his leadership, we honor his service to the ACG, to the diaspora, and to the people of Guyana. And perhaps the greatest tribute we can offer is this: to continue the work he started, to defend the democracy he fought for, and to serve with the same humility, passion, and love that defined his life. Sash Sawh was more than a public figure, he was a beacon, and though he is gone, his light continued to guide us in the ACG. May his legacy forever inspire us.
Good afternoon. Namaste to everyone. Honorable President, Dr. Irfan Ali, all my friends and family and comrades. I know I'm going back around. So, death must not find us thinking that we died. It must find us living. It must find us giving. It must find us in motion, in service of something greater than ourselves. And when I think about that, I think about my dad. Now, many of you knew him as Satyadeow Sawh, but we knew him as Satyadeow Sajiwan Sankar Siddharthar Sanjay Sawh. Now, that's not his real name, but he told us it was. And the way he said it, with that conviction, that presence, we believed it for a very, very long time. And maybe that's where this all begins, because he had a way of making you believe, not just in what he said, but in what was possible. 20 years later, I'm not standing here as a son speaking only from loss. I'm standing here as a son who, in hindsight, understands the magnitude of the man that he was. Because beyond the laughter, beyond the jokes, and trust me, friends, our friends, both Raj and I, loved calling the house just to hear him speak. There was a man of depth, a man of purpose, and a man of discipline. There was a man who put himself after the needs of others. I remember the open house Fridays at the ministry. Farmers would come not with appointments, not with status, but with problems, with real life problems. And he would sit and listen and respond not as a minister above them, but as a man among them. Handshakes, conversations, pictures with people who in many places would never be given the time of day. But to him, they mattered. Every single one of them. And as a son, you don't fully understand that in the moment. You see your dad giving away his time. But now I understand as a man, he wasn't giving away anything. He was investing in people, in fairness, and in dignity. There are stories, and countless stories, of him risking his life for Comrade Chenny Jagan, all in pursuit of something many take for granted today: fair and free elections. That wasn't politics, that was belief, that was courage, and that was conviction in action. And then there were the moments that belonged to us, traveling across Guyana as a family, watching him shift seamlessly from Minister Sawh to dad, to husband, to brother, to son, to friend, and then right back again. No separation, no performance, just one man, whole in every role he played. He was wholesome in his interactions, authentic, grounded, and present. And that's what made people gravitate towards him, not just because of what he did, but because of how he made people feel. He wasn't just a party man. He was a man for the party and for the people. And he lived by principles we often quote, but rarely embody. There is only one thing to fear, and that is fear itself. He didn't let fear dictate his decisions, not in leadership and not in life. Stand up for what you believe in, even if you have to stand alone. And he did, time and time again. And in everything he did, he was living out something even greater. Krinvanto Vishwam Arya, making the universe know, not in words, in action. Which brings us here 20 years later, because this isn't just about remembering him. It's about asking ourselves, what do we do now? Through solidarity, standing together, not apart. Because he showed us that progress isn't individual, it's collective. That every decision we make either strengthens the people around us or weakens them. That turning away is a choice, and so is standing up. Through servitude, giving more than we take. Because real impact isn't measured by what we accumulate, it's measured by what we contribute. And he gave, not when it was convenient, but when it was needed. Through action, not just words. Because belief without action is just intention, and intention doesn't change anything. And that's where this becomes personal for all of us. Because today, right now, the buck stops with us. In every decision we make, in every moment where we choose to act or to stay silent, in every situation where we know we know what's right and decide whether we have the courage to follow through. We can't pass that responsibility. We can't defer it. We can't wait for someone else. This is what legacy demands. Because if we truly understand his life, then we understand this. He did not die in vain. Not if we carry it forward. Not if we live everyone in here with purpose. Not if we choose every single day to do the right thing. Do the right thing at the right time, in the right way. And before I close, I want to speak to the people who carry it forward in a different, deeply personal way. To my wife and my sister-in-law, had he met you, he would have loved you both. Truly, you both embody perspectives, strength, and family values that he would have respected and loved. The kind that hold families together. The kind that built to last. To my mom, while today we celebrate him, your leadership under pressure does not and will never go unnoticed.
Your love is immeasurable. You are the anchor of this family, the quiet strength behind everything that continues to stand today. To my nephews, you would have been the joy of his eyes, just as you are for our mom, for your Aji. There would have been endless stories, endless laughter, and definitely a lot of fun. I will do my best to live up to that, to give you even a glimpse of what that would have felt like. And finally, to my brother Roger, you embody so much of it. It's uncanny in how you live, in how you show up for your children, in how you take care of our mom, just as he did with our Aji, and how you continue to fight for fairness for those who cannot fight for themselves. You carry his intellect, his conviction, and unfortunately his humor too. As a son, I can say with full conviction that I am 1,000% sure my family and friends that he is here with us today, not in physical form, but present, felt, alive in every value we choose to uphold. So let us not be remembered for standing still. Let us be found in motion, in service, in unity, and in courage. Because death must not find us thinking that we died. It must find us in living just as he did. Thank you very much.
Roger, His Excellency President Irfan Ali, former President Donald Rambutar, dignitaries, brothers and sisters, all, namaste. It is a distinct honor and a genuine pleasure to reflect on Sash as we knew him. And I say we deliberately because I speak not only for myself today, but also for the former members of the Sash Secretariat to whom Roger made reference, some of whom, or rather the bigger portion of whom, have traveled from overseas simply to be a part of this memorial service. Together, we shared some of the most extraordinary and unforgettable experiences with Sash. Experiences that left a lasting imprint on our lives. Officially to us, he was either minister or chief, as the office mood might have been. Titles we use with the respect he deserved, but behind his back, we spoke of him fondly simply as Sash, because that is the relationship we had developed. Despite the weight of his office, Sash never made us feel intimidated. There was no barrier with him, no distance. He had a quiet way of putting people at ease, of making you feel valued, of reminding you that you matter. And in this regard, I can reflect and say that Sash never made you feel, even with him involved, that any of us was greater or lesser than the other. Sash was, in our view, an exceptionally effective and result-oriented minister. We know we worked with him. He approached his responsibilities with commitment, dedication, and sincerity that were truly unmatched, at least to us. But what made him stand out even more was his natural connection with ordinary Guyanese, something Dave made reference to. It was genuine, he listened, he understood, and he acted. Whether in the fisheries, crops, or livestock subsectors, his work was never just about policy. It was about people. He carried their concerns with him and pursued solutions with tireless determination. But beyond his official role, Sash was something even greater, a remarkable human being. Among those in the Secretariat, Mark is sitting at the table from where I came from. Mark and I spent more quality time with him because we were fortunate for being given the opportunity to travel our country with him when he was doing field work. And it was during those journeys that we came to know the man behind the title of minister. We saw his kindness, we saw his humility, we saw his humorous side, and believe me, if you want to have a true understanding of what reflect on Roger's voice and then imagine a deep laugh coming from his belly and contaminating this entire room. That is who was Sash Sawh, when I make reference to him. He loved to tell and to hear jokes, and I wish in this audience I could have shared some of those jokes, but I truly can't. I truly can't. We saw his deep sense of responsibility and those he loved. Those interactions made us realize, recognize, acknowledge, and appreciate that he was a devoted husband, a proud father, a loyal brother, a true friend, and a boss who led by example, not by fear. For Sash, people always came first. At the time of his passing, the loss was overwhelming. If it was to us, imagine how it was for his family. It was hard to accept, hard to understand, and even harder to bear. But over time, and inspired by the strength shown by Sati, Roger, and Dave, we began to shift from grief to gratitude. Gratitude for the moments we shared. Gratitude for the lessons he taught us, often without even saying a word. Gratitude for having known him at all. And I believe I speak for the other members of the Secretariat, and for many others, when I say this. We are better people because of Sash. Stronger in character, richer in perspective, more aware of what truly matters. His legacy is not only in what he achieved, but in how he lived and how he made people feel. And so today, even as we remember him with a sense of loss, we also hold on to something deeper, something enduring. We hold on to his example, we hold on to his spirit, and we hold on to the quiet, comforting thought that a man like Sash never truly leaves us. Because he lives on, in the lives he touched, in the values he embodied, and in the memories we carry forward. And so, Minister, Chief, Sash, though you are no longer with us in the way we wish you were, your presence still surrounds us. In the roads we traveled together, in the work we shared, in the laughs we remember, and in the lives you helped shape, you have left a mark that time cannot erase. Rest peacefully, a dear boss, dear friend, dear brother. You deserve to rest peacefully and fly high always. Thank you.
Of the late Satyadeow Sash of 500 Canadian dollars.
Namaste, brothers and sisters all. Roger is lying. I wrote my own speech. All he had to do is type it. But that's what you have him for, is send him to school. Today is a bittersweet day, as it was 20 years ago on this very day that the funeral for our loved ones took place, 25th of April. I can hardly wrap my head around the fact that in a few minutes, what was a calm and enjoyable night with family upended everyone's life and threw us in turmoil. Words cannot describe the difficulty of dealing with the massacre, and yet, this is what we were required to do. As I reflect on the events of that period, I have a clear picture in my mind of a sea of people joining us in mourning and prayers. This overwhelming sea is our motivation for today's event. In holding this event, our mission was a simple one, to thank all of those who supported us then, who have continued to support us through the years, and who still keep us in their thoughts and prayers. My duty in delivering the vote of thanks, therefore, is quite a significant one. This is not just a thank you for this event. It is indeed a thank you for 2 decades of heartfelt kindness. As we are gathered in this mandir, I must begin by observing the proper protocols and not just acknowledging the presence of His Excellency, but also thanking our friend Comrade Irfan. I have to say what an impact visiting Guyana has made on my family and I, as you have been bringing to life a vision that the likes of Sash, Dr. Jagan, Comrade Janet, and so many others dreamed of. Our heartfelt thanks to you and your family, as well to your government. I also acknowledge the presence of former President Ramutar, who had the task of speaking about Sash's passion for the PPP. This is the party that Sash fiercely loved to his dying breath, and we thank you for your words and your presence. Let me get started with this important list of thank yous. I begin with my Arias Samaj family in Guyana. Thank you, Dr. Vishwa, for bringing the message of Sash's pride in being an Arias Samajist. My sister Chitra and family, my late sister Alina and family, my dear brother Dr. Ramesh Subramanian, and by Danis Sir, who used to drive every afternoon from quarantine after closing his practice to be with us. I also note our First Lady, who was a teenager then, along with the other youths of that time, not forgetting their mothers Yvonne and Evelyn. Members of the Enmore Mandir, led by Siu and Bahen Shakunta. There are so many more, from Crabwood Creek to the Essequibo Coast. We truly appreciate all of you and our humble namaste and thank you. To the staff of Sash's Secretariat, you were like family and you continue to be. Sash treated you the same way he treated his own family, including observing our birthdays and making speeches on special occasions. I'm sad to say that a lot of them still don't want to make speeches. Only Vishnu rescued them. It is amazing to have you all here for this event in Guyana. Mark is here from New York. Navin and Indra and her family are here from Toronto. Bowen is here from Florida. Kevin, well, he's local, is here too. And of course, Vishnu, who has a very important position nowadays. I can't help, but I forgot. Parmo is there too, and any other that I may have missed. Vishnu only just arrived from across the globe yesterday. Thank you all for being here from the bottom of our hearts. To the Association of Concerned Guyanese, the audience has heard about the ACG a lot today, but I've been hearing about them from the day I met Sash. I say a special thanks to my brother Jay and sister Jennifer for being here today and for delivering a heartfelt message and wonderful tribute. I also thank so many others back in Canada, particularly Danny, for the love they express for Sash still to this day. To my family, we are grateful for the love that family has showered us with since the tragedy. You have been our rock. I see 2 of my siblings here, Dana and B, in the audience, and can only smile and be grateful for such wonderful people. I see my cousins from all across are here too. I also see so much of Sash's family here today. My brother Lionel, well, he's not here, but Utra is here with her family, and the Maikoni gang is at the back table with the other cousins and other relatives. We can only say thank you for being so special. Speaking of family, I have a special brother to thank. This is a complicated thank you because I'm thanking a brother who happens to be the Pandit, the one and only Joe Jaglal, who is a brother to me from another mother to both Sash and me. He's always been there for us throughout the years and still is. Thank you, Bhai Joe. In bringing this vote of thanks to a close, I want to acknowledge and thank the everyday Guyanese, the man or woman on the street, be they in an office building or in a paddy field, regardless of their race, religion, political views, or any other factor. Our family has an unblemished record of stories of praise, love, joy, and admiration for Satyadeow Sash. No one has been able to tarnish his name, and that is a tribute in itself. So many people still meet us to this day, and when they make the connection to Sash, they cannot help but show genuine sympathy and eagerness to express how highly they thought of my husband. So I'll end as I began. This is exactly why we held this event. A phrase that has captured how we have felt is, we loved, we lose, and we persevere. Thank you for helping us to persevere. Your presence has helped to lighten our burden. But before I close, it is remiss of me if I don't thank my children, who has, well, as you would say in local Guyanese parlance, turned out to be good boys. And through them and their upbringing and the values that their father instilled in them, I've gained 2 daughters, 2 beautiful daughters, my 2 daughter-in-laws. Nowadays I say to them, I don't really care about all of you. I have my 2 grandsons who are my new love and who has given me a new sense to continue with life so that we could continue the life of Satyadeow Sash. Thank you.